8 o'clock.
We're all set to go. This is working good.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody to the August 9th Fisp meeting. Everyone's here except Mr. Dugan, Caitlin, and Pat Brown. Three missing? Lisa. Okay, minutes from July 12, 2017.
Move to approve?
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Abstain?
July 18, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
August 2nd, 2017.
So
A couple changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You get a second?
Motion is second.
Okay, good.
Second minutes paragraph. Third line, 1.2 million should read 1.1 million.
Yep.
The completion of bid-ready designs, is that, Tony, can you help me there? Is that 4.3 or is that 4.4 to bring it to 5.5? If it's 1.1 million for phase 2, the construction phase 3, is 4 point what?
2.
Sorry. Inside.
So it should be 1.1 instead of 1.2, and you get 4.3, what should it be?
What's?
5.5.
No,
It'd
it's
be 4.4.
So
So
it
it should be
4.4
should be 4.4, because the other one's
with a
too
subtraction.
much.
Oh, right, because your appropriation was
Okay.
only 1.1.
So,
Right.
so Barbara, that should be 1.1 and 4.4. And the other thing is, just to be sure, the last line in the paragraph, I was a little bit running quick and early in the morning on this one. The last line in paragraph 1, construction documents to be ready by the end of the year. The motion says December 5th. Request for bids will go out in January, and a special town meeting will be held in February, with the proposition 2.5 vote following shortly thereafter. Is that accurate?
Seems to be.
Yeah, you're right.
Are you,
Where is it?
you trying to,
End of the
First
first
paragraph.
paragraph. Oh, back to the first paragraph.
Last line of the first paragraph, all to order paragraph.
We had talked about some tentative dates, but we were speaking in generalities too. So it's a question of, do you want to put those tentative dates in and have them become written confirmation, or do you want to have it be more a sense of timeframe?
I would do more sense of timeframe, because if we come in earlier, we don't want to tie it to that. Or come in,
Or come in later.
yeah, I don't think we're coming later.
So that reads okay then? How's it work?
Well, I-
That's right.
No, I don't think we should, put January or February.
Well,
Why-
that's what
why
was
not?
said at the meeting, so she has to report
Okay.
what was said, so.
Just leave it like that.
But you want to have some anchor points
Right.
to tie
Okay.
actions against.
Anything else?
No, I'm set. I just wanted to make sure it was accurate.
Anybody else have anything?
So motion with those changes.
So motion to approve with those changes, right?
Yep.
Very good. Second, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstained. I
Okay,
wasn't, I abstained. I wasn't there from the vote.
take your time.
I'm trying to still work miracles with the minutes I sent him for last week's meeting.
No pressure, Bob.
Plus, I'm trying to learn a new computer.
All right, so police station. Tony, you want to start?
Sure. Executive summary for the police station. Design is moving forward. We've had 58 RFIs, requests for information. There's only one open at this time. and it has to do with insulation of piping in the building, so that'll be resolved in the next couple days as they insulate all the mechanical piping in all the heating and plumbing systems. Big bold letters halfway down that first paragraph, there are no change orders presently on the table. We've got one open change order for $624, and that's for some heat trace on a plumbing pipe that the electrician is saying he doesn't own. The architect and I have directed him to proceed under protest, and he is proceeding as directed, so we'll resolve that one when the work is done, and we can verify whether the $624 is really $624 or something else, and we'll get advice from council on the interpretation of the contract documents if we need to. Construction,
Will council cost more than $624 to get the review?
probably not,
Okay.
because we'll just get a quick opinion from them whether it's worth
Right.
anything at all. Construction is moving along very swiftly inside the building, outside the building. Fence is going up, plants have been going in over the last couple weeks. Sidewalks, curbing, light poles went up, so if you're driving by, everything's happening. Inside the building, all the finishes are going in, ceiling grid, light fixtures in the ceiling grid, floors, wall tiles, ceramic tiles in the bathroom, the locker rooms, all of those items. The lockers are all installed. There is a ton of work in the mechanical room, the physical plant for the building, in an effort to start throwing switches and running water and heat and piping by the end of the month, or running water through the piping by the end of the month. So the building is coming along. Really what we're focused on the next couple weeks is developing the milestone schedule of when each of those systems gets, one, inspected by the local inspector, plumbing, gas, whatever is required. Second step would be inspection and verification by the engineer of record, which needs to provide an affidavit under the regulations for controlled construction. Once all of those inspections and affidavits are in place, then the contractor can actually start applying for his building occupancy permit. And all of those will be scheduled over the next 3 to 4 weeks, leading up to mid-September for the occupancy as scheduled.
Where do we stand on putting the extra plantings and such in to create the buffer for the abutters who were concerned?
So that, as I understand it, is being handled with the DPW through the chief.
Okay, so the DPW.
I think the
is-
funds will come out of this, but at our meetings, when we were talking about where to put the plantings on the abutters' properties or down at the lower level, because there's a hill there and it slopes down, we've held off on that.
So DPW is aware of this?
I do not know that.
So they are going to purchase and plant the plants after receiving permission from the homeowners to plant on private property?
That was the discussion. That somebody needs to go and get permission to go on their property, some type of an easement, construction easement.
Construction easement,
Yeah.
right. Which shouldn't be difficult because they want this to be done, but it's still stuff that needs to
Correct.
be taken.
Well, there's only, we're saying they, but there's only one property that we're talking about doing that on. The other ones already have a buffer, I believe.
There was
The
the
first house.
gentleman right behind, the property owner right behind the police station, and then the
Closest to
property
the
owner closest to the street didn't want landscaping, he wanted a fence.
Correct. That's correct. So
Is
I
that
think
being
the,
installed by the?
No.
So we have to install.
Neither of
fence?
those are being installed. If we want to approach RAC, then we would need to tell them what plants, what spacing, where, and you're still gonna need easements and some bit of ability to enter their property. The contractor's not gonna go onto somebody else's property without proper notification
I
and,
understand that, right.
I think the chief thought it was more prudent to, for the DPW to do it, along with the homeowner, telling, so the homeowner's happy, and also, because they're the ones that are gonna be most affected by it.
I mean, I have.
Plus, I don't know how this affects it, but I believe one of the properties is either for sale or has sold. It might be in some state of transfer. To add a little complexity to the issue.
So do we have a budget for these non-project landscaping projects? Does anyone have any idea what
We
we're
have
talking about?
contingency still, right?
We have
We have
contingency.
contingency.
I know we have money, but, you know, we're writing a check for $100, $1,000, $10,000?
Well, that's,
I think when we walked through with the property owner and sitting down and looking at plants and linear footage of fence, we had thrown a number at it of like $6,000.
For both the fencing and the plantings.
Correct.
so when you said we're putting in fence, where is the fence?
We're putting in the fence around the impound area
Okay,
with the privacy slats so that people can't see in there and it
Okay.
doesn't look like chain link fence. We've got another fence that goes around the patio area in the back of the building.
we've talked a few times at this meeting about maybe not putting it around the patio, using that fence to block off between the neighbors. Because all you're gonna do is you're gonna have a fence around the patio, and then a fence about 3 feet away in the neighbor's yard.
But he wanted plants, not fence. The guy down the end wanted fence.
He wanted both. He wanted fence and plants.
Okay.
But I mean, I know we talked about possibly reusing that, instead of putting that fence there,
That's something we need to do pretty soon, because
I'll
Before
check
we
on it
install.
tomorrow.
you know, maybe, because that could maybe be used to offset the cost
so
of the
how do we
fence.
go about setting up a meeting with the neighbors? Is that something you would,
Well, I call them again and we can meet, but I mean, I'd personally rather it go through Tony, if that's all right, instead of through the chief or even if it's the
Well, I can do it with the chief.
Yeah, with the
If you're gonna do
chief.
it with the DPW.
Yeah, but
If we're gonna do it as a directive to a contractor through the architect, then somebody needs to specify 6 foot to
Right.
8 foot evergreens, hemlocks. Somebody's gotta come up with all that, and for a homeowner to say, pick plants,
Right.
I'm not picking them, so who's gonna pick?
I
Do we
just
want a
don't-
landscape architect involved, and now your 6 is $8,000, and,
But I just don't want it as general as we have it right now. We think the chief's handling with the DPW.
Right.
That's way too
But I
vague.
do think that the DPW should be doing this and not the architect or the REC, because it's gonna cost us 30% more for them to do it.
Are you saying have them install, we purchase the fence and having
No.
them install that too?
We could sub the fence out. DPW can sub the
Yeah.
fence out,
Yeah, that's what I'm just asking, right?
but we could
Not
probably do
RSC,
the
I'm talking
plantings.
No,
I'm
so,
talking about
right,
DPW.
we could do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what's the control mechanism here? Who's approving how much? And how does the committee know what's being expended?
well, even if DPW bought the plant material, I assume it would hit this budget, so you would be the voting entity on the budget.
We haven't got to that stage yet, we haven't come up with a price, we haven't even come up with, so we need to make it, and we should do it as soon as possible, make it a meeting with the two neighbors. With the chief and us, I guess.
Yeah,
You've already met with them
if
once
we've
or a
met
couple
with them a
times,
few
right?
times, yeah. I think we know.
Well, we
Well,
need
we
to
need to
get
put a
permission.
plan together on what we're gonna do.
We need to contact them and let them know that we need a formal construction
Right.
easement signed, so I can start preparing those
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay,
So I think we need to reach out to the homeowners and say, we're preparing formal construction easements to gain your formal permission to enter your property to do the plantings. The fence itself would go on town property, correct? Or would the fence go
No.
on private property?
Well, that was part of the discussion, was do we put the fence on the upper hill,
Okay,
which is their property, or on the lower hill, which is our property, or somewhere in between?
okay. So I would suggest then that you do a site visit as soon as possible to confirm exactly the location of the fence. You know, is it gonna be part of the construction easement or not? And then also, we could have DPW start to reach out to, local landscaping companies, nurseries, to find out what might be appropriate plantings to put in that area. Butch can go and say, this is the amount of sunlight that the area gets, this is the effect we want. We want something that's an evergreen throughout the year, I'm assuming, nothing deciduous.
Right.
You know, so he can start to get some ideas in terms of types of plantings and what the estimated cost might be. And then we can come back to the Fisp meeting, whether it's a special one that we have at the end of the month or the first one in September, and get permission to go ahead, because September is gonna be prime planting season to get this done,
And then also an estimate on the fence.
on the fence, yeah.
Because we don't wanna put the fence on town-owned property because it's probably
3 feet low.
Right.
3 feet low and it's not gonna do the homeowner any good.
You need to be a very high fence to be effective.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it can't be over, what can't be over 6 feet in most places, or 8 feet?
I'd have
I
to
think
check
it's 6
it.
feet.
Is that right? So are we gonna hold off on this fence around the patio and
I
possibly
think,
reuse it?
we should,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Do-
to Ray's point too, that you wanna keep the cost reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, if the homeowner wants 12-foot
Yeah.
trees,
No.
you know, versus
Right.
6, I
Right.
think that's something that has to
Absolutely,
be looked at.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we've talked.
And do we need to give consideration to who will maintain these fences and plantings in the future?
Well, as far as, if it's on a private homeowner's property, they're gonna be responsible for maintaining it.
We can put that into the easement fund.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the town still can't go on it.
I would expect they would want that control, so
Yeah.
it should be
Right.
an issue.
All right?
So we
Um,
wanna meet with them again, or we were all set with what we have?
Sure.
I will talk to the chief about setting up the meeting, if you want to send the phone numbers to me.
I have the one that could be
Just
for
that one?
sale, I'll have to send him an email.
Well, chief and I can go knock on doors or whatever for the abutter down the other end, down by the street.
Tony, can you talk about this line item, coordination and quality concerns on exterior finishes? What's the quality?
There were a number of areas, 3 to be exact, that the siding either isn't lining up as it abuts other materials. So you have, 6, siding either has a 4, 6, 8-inch exposure. In some cases, we have 3 on one side, 5 on the other. 2 by the time it gets up to the top of one corner of the roof line, but it's 3.5 over on the other, so it's a little out of plumb and not a level, and so we're addressing those. There were a few areas when they first started putting the corner boards on, that the corner boards came down and died onto the water table. So the water table is the band that runs around, and they ended on the water table instead of running past the water table, which would create a different drip edge there. They fixed it on a couple of the sides. They did the rest of the corner boards in the appropriate way with the appropriate flashing. Once we caught that, the siding guy was waiting for the utility gas line, which punches through the back of the building, the ephes, which is the soffit fascia material on a few areas to be completed before he comes back, and then he's gonna pull the siding and reset it in the areas that are, quote, of concern.
So this is an issue of installation quality, not material quality.
Correct. So we're developing punch lists now on an ongoing basis before these trades start to think they're done. So we have that running list now.
So that siding issue, is that one piece, or does that make every one of them from there up off?
I'm not sure how far down he's gonna have to take it to
So
get
that's-
it
they
back
are
to
all
level.
off, Okay.
It certainly will start creeping before it becomes really noticeable to the eye.
Right.
But to find out where that first level piece starts to shift, I can't tell you if it's half, 3/4, or the whole side. And it's basically right in the front where the meeting room is, and you have the large window in the middle, and siding on both sides, it doesn't run up even. So as soon as you pull in,
Can't be in the back.
but you know what? Without saying it, 90 people may pull in out of 100 and get out of their car and never notice it, but
We're gonna fix it.
if you look at the ridge line and you expect everything to be even all the way across, your eye will notice it's not even all the way across.
We're all gonna look now.
Y'all go home and look at your own houses first. But no, those are the types of issues that you're starting to see now. You'll see, it won't make it out on here, but on that punch list, we have other areas within the building where paint hadn't dried, somebody went in and put tape on the wall to protect from something else, and then when they pulled it, they peeled the paint, and, you know, all those types of
Normal
small
stuff.
punch list items that are occurring. As you can see down below, I said masonry punch list. We had some masonry items on here, previous executive summaries. Those are now being completed and signed off. The mechanical, plumbing, electrical engineers have come through. They've done their pre-punch list. They're all now coming back through over the next couple weeks to double check that those items have been corrected. Elevators will be complete this month. Everything should be turned on by the end of the month, so we can start to really see things in the building and how they operate. And to your budget, you see the summary there. You're sitting here today with $58,256 that is unexpended or uncommitted.
Is that unchanged from the last meeting?
It went, well, the balance went down because we took, I put 10,000 into on the next page where the overall budget is, I put 10,000 into security and CCTV because we've had a couple of issues come up that are still not ironed out, one of which was the node internet wireless access points that were needed in the building. And so there's a change order for about $7,000 for that work, which was added, but hasn't been committed yet. I need to review that with Karen Perret and Chief and Jay when they're available. On the budget, I've also highlighted the furniture items, which I'm not sure when we'll talk about that, but in a few minutes. So that's a commitment of about $90,000 that we're going to talk about. The other highlighted items are simply invoices and commitments.
Now, the whole system with Holden, where they're gonna click the door and they can go in, is that what you just talked about? That's what we're looking into?
No, the access points are, a lot of our newer stations that are built, you lose radio signal in them because of the steel, the concrete, and the construction. So they put wireless access points throughout the building. So if you're running a laptop anywhere within the building, you're able to get wireless internet access. It also helps with the phone signals as a bidirectional antenna, BDA. And so there's 13 points that are being wired up above the ceilings.
Okay. And but that other system with Holden, that's already, has that been put in
Yes.
yet? And that's
It's not in yet.
And they can go into it, there's
Fiber's
a couple
going-
rooms they'll be able to click into from
Yes.
Holden.
Fiber's going in this coming week. Verizon's coming in tomorrow. Fiber's coming in next week. And then Gary Cromack and that crew from Holden will be able to come over and make their connections.
Tony, what is driving the doubling of the furniture budget?
Most of that was driven from just your original budget. So if you look at that approved budget, which totaled $2 million when your original estimate from the previous people that you were working with said you could build this building and outfit it for $2.2 million.
So that's 45 from that estimate. just-
So that was 45. I recommended in the reclass column from the later appropriation at town meeting that you put 55 in there, which would give you 100,000. We've got a current proposal, which Jay has sent to Anita and myself. I don't know that, I didn't print that.
I do. So
So
Jay
I
had
don't
sent
know
an
if
email
it's in
saying he
there.
was sorry he wasn't able to make it, but in working with WB Mason, furniture vendor that is available through the state contract, they have come up with a total in the amount of $87,850 that will give them everything that they need. They do have to make some minor adjustments to the shelving, due to weight loads on the floor, some minor design issues. but he's looking to have the committee approve a total of the 87,850. If they end up not using all of it, then, you know, this is considered a not-to-exceed amount that he's asking you to approve.
So has anybody else, yourself or anybody else from the committee, looked over that list, or is it just all of what?
I have not looked at the list. The list has been developed by the user group, the police station, working with the WB Mason designer, furniture designer.
So what I can tell you is we've gone through the architect's floor plans for what furniture fits. We gave all that to WB Mason under the state contract. They provided an initial quote. It was some $90-something thousand. Went back through, reselected, looked at the stuff. Jay, Chief, and I went to the showroom in Worcester, touched, felt, looked at, you know, all of the products that they were recommending, made further adjustments, further adjusting the price down as well. And then WB Mason delivered to the police station, the current police station, 3 or 4 chairs for them to try out as loaners to, you know, use for a week or two to see if they're comfortable, appropriate, whether the guys with the belts can really sit in them without, you know, damaging the chairs, those kind of things. And the final list came in maybe Friday of last week. So I can get that to everybody. It's a parts list. It's gonna say a chair. It doesn't have photos or anything like that. Further to that, we gave that list and all of the product literature, you know, the laminates, the edging, the plastic chairs, the glides. We gave all that to the architect, and he then coordinated with his color finishes for in the building. Blue chairs, gray chairs, rubber beads, laminates. So,
Got a lot of meetings about it, going back a long time ago.
So we need a motion to accept.
They're looking to try to get approval for that not-to-exceed amount tonight so they can move forward.
I make the motion to accept the price, it was 87.
$87,850 not to exceed.
Not
No.
to exceed.
Siobhan, is this motion under the OPM report, or the architect report, or miscellaneous?
Oh, the OPM.
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 Okay, great, thanks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion on furniture?
Just a general question, what trim level of furniture are we buying? Is this good, better, best, oh my god?
List.
it's better.
an
It's
medium.
not executive office type. It's, the tables are what you're sitting at. They did go with a rubber edge instead of the laminate because the rubber will hold up better because of the type of use. They went with a different rolled edge in the conference room, large meeting room, because those tables will be butted up together a lot. The rest of it is standard office furniture.
Come with any kind of warranty?
Yeah. The chief has all the literature on, you know, who the manufacturers are, what the warranties are. They put together a big color package brochure of what it all looks like, and I'm sure we can make that available to anybody that wants to see it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So the only other thing attached to the police station executive summary update are the invoices that you're gonna go over in a little while. You have copies of those. There is no architect report.
Tony, what's appliances, 3,500, refrigerator? Or what do you want?
Most of the large appliances are in the contractor's outfit, but there's usually microwaves, there's some other minor appliances that we see people buy later.
You want to do the invoices now, and then we can just go back to senior center? This is all for police station. All right, so we have Carmen truck invoice number 16, $7,610.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right.
We're looking at the agenda.
Okay, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and, C&B invoice number 5582 for 4,000, no, I'm gonna go back to the senior center, that's the senior
Oh.
center,
Oh, this one, oh, that's
Yeah.
the same.
all right? C&B for $4,667.
So this
Well,
one,
should we skip over one of the?
Because that's for the senior center, I just wanna get.
but the next one doesn't say,
Oh,
it's the next one's for police station, and
Yeah.
the next two are for police station.
Yeah.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on C? All in favor?
Aye.
And then, RAC bills, invoice number 8 for $537,753. And how much is that amount? What is
That brings them to 80%.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Their,
Yeah.
their initial application was for 82%. This month, we cut a number of things back, like back to the punch list on quality concerns, held out some of that money to keep those folks. We want to keep more money in your hands than theirs. Gets them to come back and complete and repair the punch list items.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have, let's talk about senior center first, and we'll do the invoice for that last.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sure.
All right, so, first one with the budget.
Very brief summary on the senior center, mostly of the things that you know that have happened. You've entered into a OPM contract. You have attached to this a fee page from Keola Bienick. We are in the process of finalizing the negotiated design contract. When we all last met, we came up with the schedule that you've seen, and that's attached to your report. There's no construction at this time. I did kind of bullet outline the schematic design, design development, bid document in the schedule. And of your $1.1 million, which you authorized and signed in your previous meeting, you've committed to date $68,100 for OPM services.
Tony, where do we stand on getting the survey done for the site and soil testing and such?
I only was able to receive one proposal this past week on survey. It was from Hub Survey, which was $9,500, and he'll be complete in 4 weeks. I was expecting 2 others, which I did not get.
But they're still out there.
You
So
still looking for?
You're still looking for?
Yeah, I want to get other pricing,
Because
and
that-
and we're not under due stress right now to get that done.
Because, if I'm right, the police station was like 6,500. Something like that.
Well, we have a police station budget report that will tell you.
And you should have the meets and bounds from the police station, which tie into the,
That's the back property.
yeah.
He still has to go out and do
I know.
2-foot intervals over the entire site. Survey, yeah, 6,500 for the police station.
So, does that seem right, it's more, I mean, I know it's more land.
I haven't gone through it with him. I
Okay.
literally just got it yesterday, and I just got the architects today,
So
so
you can still get,
we're jumping on
more can
people.
still put in.
Correct. We're jumping on people for proposals and work, and it's an incredibly busy time right now in the industry, and nobody's getting to anything that needs to get out the door quickly.
So why don't we, do that, and if we
So I
need
would-
to have another meeting before the end of the month, we will.
Yep.
If not, we'll go September.
Yep.
Right? And then, let's see,
Can we get an update on the status of the contract with the architect?
Yes.
We just received it today. Haven't had a chance to send it to Copeland and Page yet for review. The price proposal that we received, Tony is pushing back on them on the fee associated with the schematic design phase. Because while we agree that there's some additional programming and redesign of the conceptual design that needs to be done, the price that they put in for that appears to be what would be a full price for that phase, and that's really not what we need. So there's some back and forth that still needs to take place regarding that portion of the fee, and we'll be bringing that back to the next Fisp meeting.
So the rough number that's in your notes here, 352, is current target?
That is my conversation as of today with Curtis, who needs to go back and think about it to get more out of it. I think there's a little more room there. His initial give back, if you will, was $4,000 or $5,000.
And what was their original proposal?
So their original proposal is based off a simple 8%, which is the state recommendation, given the complexity of the building and the dollar value of the fixed construction limit. So it's very similar, same numbers. When we did the police station, it's $4 million is what we thought the budget was, and 8% was $320,000, and then we had an add on their services for $4,000. This is based off that same scope. Now, if we had taken that plan at interview and said, take this and go with it, there would be a credit for that. What they're saying is, you're not getting as much credit because we're having to do meetings, we're going through program, we're adding storage spaces, and I'm trying to figure out in the next couple weeks, how much rework of that plan that we gave them, that you gave them, how much is it really changing? If it's simply adding doors to kind of conceal off after hours use of the building, then I would be able to argue that that would be the normal kind of design progression. Their feeling is, John's had one meeting with Lisa, and I'm not sure who else was there, but his initial reaction to me was the building's growing by 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, which is not simply adding a storage room. If that's truly the case, then I have less argument for why there should be give back if we're basically redesigning the building.
Who came up with that?
Right.
Yeah.
Where that.
I have terrific concerns about this. This has got to be contained
Okay?
as quickly as possible.
Well, that leads us to our next thing. We need to appoint a subcommittee to work for the building design. So why don't we're going to probably have to do that now, so we can have.
How could it go without anybody?
Well, it's not, it's
Right.
just discussion, it's not,
Right,
nothing
it's
grow.
just discussion, but whether
Nothing
somebody
can't grow
said,
until it comes back.
add storage here, add storage there, John goes back, that's what architects do, they say, oh, I heard storage room, I heard bigger this, bigger that. Okay, that's about 1,500 square feet at $450 a square foot means, increase means my fee increases.
Yeah, I thought,
This
I
is the creep
I
factor.
thought
that-
make the room a little smaller and add a storage. I didn't mean to add on to the outside of the building.
Tony, it's possible that I was that other person
Okay,
that was referred to. And Lisa was meeting with John, and I was just leaving the senior center, and I stuck my head in, and I realized it was John. I said, hello. I walked over and talked with him for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, just cordiality,
right.
impressing upon him the importance of the right side of the pool room.
There's your 1,500 square feet.
No, make it one pool, one pool table. We can put flat up
It
storage.
was the sink that Kaplan had put in there, and that was the sum total of my involvement. There may have been somebody else who spoke with them as well, but my total time with him and Lisa was, it could not have.
And I think he said you wanted the pool table to be suspended and it would just simply drop down for
Right,
use.
And they'll come down from
And
the
then,
ceiling.
yeah.
and-
Okay.
So, I think anybody,
So yes, there needs to be a committee involved because there are
Authorized
people
committee.
meeting and making suggestions, not decisions on sizes.
whatever committee we appoint, they need to understand the 10,200 or whatever it was, was the size of the
10,300.
building. It's not gonna,
It has to come back to the committee if it's a
Exactly.
huge major,
Right.
everything has to come back to the committee anyway.
but that's.
Right, but we don't want the architect to go off and do work
Right.
and
No, he shouldn't
and
be
bring
doing
it back here, because then you're gonna cut the square footage and he's gonna say, I've already done the work.
I think you should, before he starts doing work, the subcommittee should bring it back to this committee
Right.
to move it to him.
All right, so we need, I believe 4 people.
I can,
So we have Lisa.
Lisa's not a committee member. so-
No, I'm talking about people. She's
Right.
gonna be looking at it. Raj, you
I'd
want,
be interested in.
so those 4?
Raj,
Is
Chris,
four? Is the max gonna be
Well,
4?
yeah.
it's up to you all to decide who to,
No, without a.
Raj, Bob, Chris.
What's a?
a quorum is 6, so if you keep it under 6,
So
it won't be
so
a,
4 or 5 we
Yeah.
can do?
So Raj, Chris, Bob, and Phil.
Should be.
Are good?
That's good.
Right,
and Lisa will be staff support?
yes.
Yeah, Lisa.
We need a motion. We need a motion.
Yes.
I move to select the people you just identified.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So there's the committee, and you guys will set up the meetings and then reports back to us at a monthly meeting. If we need more meetings, we'll meet more often. If you guys think that,
Well, I think we have a meeting scheduled for the end of this month, right?
No, we haven't officially scheduled it, we've just said if we need it, we could do it.
but I think
I
that's.
think we should schedule it.
I-
And the difference is,
I-
we cancel it if we don't need it.
And in the meantime, please communicate to John and anybody else that needs to be communicated to. The program has not changed, the square footage has not changed, and there is real doubt that they ever would change,
Okay.
okay?
The storage size closets might change. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't
And
think.
Chris, I think a little smaller. I like that.
I mean, that's,
you know, we can make
Yeah,
one.
storage intrudes rather than extrudes.
all right.
Bob will
And now we have,
John, before we move
Okay.
on, as a question of control, has anyone had a conversation with Lisa as to the nature of her role? She's one voice to collect the input from the seniors, and she's a member of this subcommittee. I think it's,
she's an advisor, my opinion. I mean.
I talk to her virtually every day. I think Bob does too. And where I'm coming with these assertions, program has not changed, square footage has not changed, is directly from conversations with her.
I think the appropriate person to do that would be me, as her, supervisor and appointing authority. So,
and I have some concerns based on conversations that have been had, that it might not be clear exactly what her role is, and I think it would be really handy to have that conversation.
All right, anything else in that? Now, let's go back to the town construction invoice, number 1 for the senior center. That's a $7,575.
So moved.
Second.
Then you just want to tell us.
Just started, you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
that's what I
What's
was
his
going
thought?
to ask. That's what I'm going to ask.
So the contract language was written because the designer selection phase services, developing the scorecard, calling the references, helping you through that was actually happening during the contract period while legal looked at it and everyone else. The way the contract is written, the start date was the date of execution, so whatever it's executed in here. And the first bill is for the design services that were incurred and performed prior to the execution of that contract. So that is simply for the designer selection services. What's your take back?
The motion. No, that's fine. We have a motion in a second.
When you make a motion, can you just speak up a little bit? Some of you
And
are
the
very
motion, I don't
soft.
know who seconded
Who seconded it?
We both did, Roger.
You both do.
it. They can pick one.
Take,
Pick
come on,
one.
come on.
Chris?
All right,
And the contract is here if anybody would like to read it.
any other discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Did.
John, just one quick point of clarification here. The COA is meeting next Monday, and I know that the word that they were working with was a February date and a March date for the special town meeting and the election. This is gospel now, that the bids will go out January, special town meeting held in February, and Proposition 2.5 will follow shortly thereafter. No specific dates.
I would not want to hold us to any specific dates yet.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that I was passing along the information that was agreed on.
We haven't had a chance to, check with the moderator to find out availability, check with the town clerk regarding availability, so we need to have some discussion before we can really aim towards specific dates.
I'm perfectly fine with that, but they're gonna be pushing for
I understand.
details.
Mhm.
Good, thank you.
Anything else on the senior center?
Nothing else on the senior center from my standpoint.
Thank you. All right, we need to schedule a Collins Center presentation for the future facilities improvements. Is that something they want to come in and sit down with the Fisp and talk about, or is?
Yep, so this was actually something that Representative, Jim O'Day, had asked that the Collins Center do for the town of West Boylston. He had been to a presentation by the Collins Center and saw that they have the ability, capability, experience in guiding communities on really understanding the phasing and developing priorities for facility planning. And given that we still have a few projects still that the town needs to look at, the fire station building, DPW, whatever else might be coming forward, he thought it might be helpful to have the Collins Center come and do a brief presentation with this committee to help give some advice in terms of how to establish the priorities of what projects should go next. This was Jim's suggestion. Originally, it was going to happen in June, and then we became very busy with the senior center process. They're still willing to do it. I just want to find out from you all, is this something that you want to do now? She is available to come in September, or we could request that it be sometime early next year. It's up to you.
Is there a fee for it?
No, they're doing it gratis at the request of Jim O'Day.
I'd say early next year. We've got plenty of stuff to do with these two projects, and I don't think we're gonna start moving into anything else
I
that
think
soon.
that's correct.
Okay, so I'll reach back out to them and say what's their availability and say February or March. Okay, thank you.
All right, so next meeting, let's set one at the end of the month.
Is that the 30th, the last Wednesday? Is that what we,
Be the 23rd
oh, we do the
or the 31st.
31st is a Thursday.
30.
30th?
30th then?
So you wanna just, I don't,
Well,
what do we
seven-
usually do, do we usually do the last Wednesday?
They were.
No, we were doing the second Tuesday, the second Wednesday.
Well, originally it was the last Wednesday of the month.
Let's set the last.
30th.
Will the 30th be early enough, Tony?
If we need one. We need one.
Yeah, I think everybody's working. If we need something before then, I'll let you know. but-
Okay. So
That's the next meeting.
the 30th, Wednesday, August 30th,
Set it up.
at 7 PM.
Yeah, wouldn't be able to make that date.
Oh, I'm gonna be at Lake Baikal in Russia that. Oh, I'll fly back.
I bet you would.
I do just have one more question on the subcommittee. Who's gonna be calling the meetings? Who's gonna decide when this stuff is going to meet?
So John will set up the meetings. I'll work with John to set up the design meetings that he needs to get through programming, and I'll put everybody on copy.
Should we plan on setting something?
I will talk
To
to
talk
him
about-
tomorrow,
yeah.
and you will all get emails.
Later in the afternoon for me, if possible.
Later in the afternoon for your email or for your...
My email. I only read emails in the afternoon.
Just checking.
No, later in the afternoon instead of like 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay.
That'll work.
John doesn't. Oh, John, you don't know, it's all right.
I was putting it around.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? Any motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
This time I better notice.
Put it in the
Quarter of
second.
9.
Oh, you just put
Actually,
it
it's
in.
quarter of 8, excuse me.
Is that
Or is
protocol?
the clock stopped?
No, I just put it...
Is it
why,
really
did
only
it go
quarter
to
of
you?
8?
No, you have your phone. What time is it
Okay.
really?
Excellent.
John keeps the meeting
There's a
moving, man.
large email to
Yeah.
access your
Quarter of
calendar.
8. Some